Steve, I guess there's a fair degree of satisfaction having achieved. You've got your status for next.
Satisfaction, relief. Yeah, I mean, to be in this position, obviously, it shows you what we have done over the last few months. You know, to be safe with 2 games to go. I didn't think that would be possible at the start, if I was being honest. But as I've said now for weeks, we've got to see it through and finish off, which could be a really, really memorable season for us, to finish off with the FA Cup final. And since the semi-final, it's been so hard to just focus everybody in on the Premier League. You know, everybody's talking about the FA Cup final, and rightly so. It's been very, very difficult.
You said there you didn't think it was possible. It was going to be a real challenge. Did you not think this group of players was capable of doing it?
No, I didn't think there would. I didn't think that, but I just thought a newly promoted team. If we're being honest, we haven't really been in it at all, which has been testament to them. We've never really, apart from now, we find ourselves that we could end up. We've got to still pick up a few points, but I honestly thought that over the months that would be, in a relegation fight, if you like, and thankfully we haven't, because it's been such a difficult season for. Well, 10 clubs have been in it for a long, long time, and thankfully we're out of it now, and we can enjoy the next couple of games.
What's been the key, do you think?
The key? Well, we've brought in some good players, that's for certain, and you don't stay in the Premier League unless you have. But I think there's a terrific spirit amongst them and a togetherness amongst them, and I think in their own way they've all got something to prove, either to try and establish themselves as Premier League players, or something to prove that they've been at clubs and haven't been number one choice, if you like. And people like Jake Livermore, for example, it's his first full season, so he was desperate to do well, and he has done. He's done remarkably well, and I think that goes for quite a few of them.
You've obviously you're into Europe now as well. I mean, what's that mean to a club like this?
Well, it's just remarkable. I mean, I think I said it in my press conference on Saturday. If we get there, to stay in the Premier League, get to an FA Cup final and get into Europe, it's been one hell of achievement by everybody concerned. My staff who work alongside me, but most important, like anything, is the players. It's a fantastic journey and a fantastic achievement, and they'll enjoy every minute of it because it is something different. It's very. We've got to guard against. We'll look at that when it starts. It's very difficult, that's for sure. And that's a fine. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of problems over the years for a lot of clubs who got into the Europa League and going on, beyond into the season. How are you going to cope with that, do you think?
Well, we'll have to cope with it when it comes along. But we've seen Swansea have a struggle with it this year. We've seen a huge club and a huge Newcastle the year before, derail their season. So we've got to guard against that. But that's something we'll have to cope with. It's something which we're aware of already, and how difficult it is to play on a Thursday and on a Sunday is very, very difficult. So I'll be going to the chairman to ask for a few more players, because inevitably we will have to. But we've got qualifying to do first, unless we beat Arsenal, of course, in the cup final. We've still got a bit of qualifying to do, so there's possibly 4 games by the end of August what you've got to get into before you get into the Europa League. So there's a bit of work to be done, but one to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much a reason, apart from winning the cup for its own sake, but to actually win the cup means that you don't have to go through that qualifying period then. Does it make pre-season a lot easier?
That doesn't make the game any easier, does it? It's the icing on the cake for the club itself, to be in Europe. The first time we've done that, the first time we've been in an FA Cup final, it's fantastic for the club and the supporters who. And all of this must be thinking it's all their dreams have come true, because it's quite remarkable what's just happened.
And now you're going back to your old club, in a position where I guess you perhaps at the start of the season wouldn't have thought you'd be in this situation.
No, well, I did look towards the end of the season and thought what difficult games we've got. We've got Man United and we've got Everton, which is never going to be easy. So we've got Man United, Everton, and Arsenal. Big games to look forward to, but we can go and have a freedom about us. And whenever you go to Old Trafford, it's where you want to play, isn't it? I mean, there'll still be 75,000 there, and and it's a wonderful place to go and play. So let's go and enjoy it.
Ryan obviously spoke to Sir Alex about the job, and I'm just wondering, with your experience, whether he gave you a bell as well and asked you.
I spoke to Ryan. I spoke to Ryan 10 days ago to wish him good luck and welcome to the welcome to the crazy side of the game. But no, he's always going to be capable of doing whatever he wants to do, and whether he gets it permanently or whatever. But the way he's handled himself just shows you what he is. You know, it's never fazed him. You know, he's been at Man U all his life, so it's never going to. But I suppose it's like everybody, when you have to pick a team and be the manager, it's a little bit different. But it's certainly, I'm sure, have opened his eyes to what it's all about.
It looks as though it's Van Gaal who's going to get the job. How big a job has he got to do there?
Well, everybody says it's a big job, and of course it is. But you know, if it is Van Gaal, then you know it's Manchester United at the end of the day. You know, they're a fantastic club, and I had the privilege to play for it for the best part of 10 years. And to this day, I still get letters from Man United supporters 15 years on, you know, so it's a huge club which is global now. It's arguably the biggest in the world, so whoever gets it has got a fantastic job on his hands. And of course, it's always going to be difficult. And it's always going to be difficult to follow the previous boss, isn't it? That's, you know, it's still there. And for what he achieved and what he done, then whoever got it, whether it's Van Gaal or Ryan or whoever it is, it's always going to be a difficult job.
Is there a fair bit of deconstructing of that team to be done though, and to move it forward?
Well, the one thing that happens to a footballer, unfortunately, it's happening to Ryan Giggs. You know, he's played for 20 years. Unfortunately, yeah, there comes a time when age catches up with you, and you know, you look at Evra and Vidic and Ferdinand in particular. They've been Man United's back four for the last 10 years, and how well are they, and how good are they, and how good have they been? So where do you replace them? Doesn't matter if you've got millions. Where do you replace that level of consistency? What they've put in, the two centre backs, and have been fantastic for years, and to try and replace them is very, very difficult.
Are you tempted to play something close to your FA Cup final team now that you say?
Well, I started thinking about it yesterday to say there'll be a few changes, and the people who we need to play can get a bit of football under their belt. So it would be awful to play people at Wembley who haven't played much football. So it gives me a chance then to go and give a few of the lads who've been on the bench for the past few weeks. They'll certainly have a game or two to play.
And where are you with Shona Luco and James Chester?
Well,
and two others?
Shawnee had a scan on Friday. We don't think it's too bad. He'll not be available for tomorrow. It's touch and go whether he'll be available for the cup final, I would have thought. And the earliest reports on James Chester looks as if a hamstring when he's come off, where he's re-injured a hamstring, which he did against Newcastle. And it looks pretty bleak for the lad, but until we scan him today or tomorrow, then we'll not know the extent of it, but it doesn't look very good for him at the moment.
Is that it? Are there any other worries?
No, McShane's coming along well, McGregor's coming along well, so we'll see how they progress in the next couple of weeks.
So McGregor might be fit for the final, might he?
He's got a hell of a chance the way he's going at the moment, yes.
How much better are you going to have to be if you're going to go to Old Trafford and get a result?
We're going to have to be much, much better than we were Saturday. It's arguably the worst we've been. And as I've just said, I think the most difficult part I've found over the last few weeks is everybody's talking about FA Cup finals. And before that it was semi-finals at Wembley. So it's been very difficult to focus them all in for the last 5-6 weeks. But Saturday we just weren't at it at all, which is not like us, you know. We've took a pride in being difficult to play against and difficult to beat, and that's why we're in the position we're in as we speak today. On Saturday all of that went out the window. We were second best all over the pitch, and we'll have to improve significantly if we're going to get a kick of the ball, never mind trying to get a result.
You're going to Old Trafford, a place that traditionally no one or few go and get results. Have you been surprised at their home form, even though it's a transition season for them?
Well, that because their away form is absolutely unbelievable. So you just can't sum it up, really. You try and analyse something and think, well, they've probably lost more games at Old Trafford than they have done in the last 10 years, I would have thought. It's quite remarkable because it has become something of a fortress. But what I've kept saying for years is when you go back there, it's what you play football for, to go and play Old Trafford and full house again, and why you're in it. And the one thing you have to do is make sure that you turn up and have a crack at them, because it doesn't matter if they're not in form or whatever, they're a really, really good side still. They've got great players, and it's been a difficult season for them, but they'll come through, I'm sure.
And you're talking about going there experimenting. A little while ago,
I didn't say experiment. I didn't say experiment. I said, well, we can give a few people a game. We're in a fortunate position to be able to do that, and that puts me in a very decent position with the FA Cup final coming up. So, you know, a lot of the lads have played a lot of football week in and week out. They've played, so if I can freshen them up for a couple of weeks' time, then I will do.
And just finally for me, the fact that you effectively got over the line before Wembley, before the semi, that must be a huge relief. Because if you
It is. It's become, because of the last couple of weeks, let's be fair, it become really, really edgy with the results Sunderland have had in particular. And, you know, you do look at it and think, well, you know, if we're being honest though, we've never really been in it. You know, we're only about in it now, and thankfully it's come to an end. And that's a great achievement by all of them. They've really, really had a fantastic season, and it's important that we finish it off. And of course we've got the FA Cup final to look forward to, and then of course next year we can start from today really planning for Europe as well, which is just quite unimaginable before the start of the season. I wouldn't have thought that would be possible.
Thank you.
Steve, what was it like for you over the weekend after the disappointment of the Villa game?
Well, I didn't watch anything yesterday. I have to say, I took my good lady to the Cotswolds, and how lovely it was too. So I went to the Wild Rabbit in Kingham, and I recommend it to everybody. It was very, very nice.
Other restaurants are available.
Yeah.
But good night's sleep last night though, with all this in place.
Yeah, I mean it's been difficult the last few weeks, because everybody's talking about Wembley, and rightly so. We've never been there before. The players have not been there before, and an FA Cup final is something to look forward to. But it's been around the corner now for weeks. And it's been difficult to focus everybody. Thankfully, the season's now coming to a close, and we're safe, which is a fantastic achievement and something we can look forward to now. Is the cup final, and then of course the added reward of being in Europe too is just quite remarkable.